Hello, this is Ronald Allen, Managing Change through Effective Communications. Tonight's discussion, memory modification. Memory modification. What on earth is memory modification? It is an exercise whereby we begin to arrest the unwanted emotional attachments to memories, experiences that we'd rather not have, and begin to give them a meaning that we would rather have had experienced. Good evening, Rose. Thanks for checking in. So we're going to do a couple of exercises on memory modification. And this came about because I was in a workshop this week. And again, as you all know, I am studying under Chloe Madane's, Anthony Robbins, Core 100. I'm also part of the Ken Blanchard leadership program. And as I transition, as I share this with everybody, because I want you to know that it's not just about arriving or feeling 100% competent in your newfound acumen, whatever it might be. If you're a cello player, if you happen to play billiards, or as we used to play marbles as kids. I've got a background noise here. Let me see if I can take that off. Sorry, guys, this has not happened before. So I will close this out. That's technology. They call that wild radicals, where systems... You know how we speak into these boxes these days and turns on lights, reminds you that there's no food in the fridge. God forbid you don't remember that. Or will turn on different movies. Well, what just happened was I had my Facebook profile on, and I guess my laptop recognized my voice and said, oh, he wants us to turn himself on. Okay. Now, there's an example of a memory modification you could do without, right? Artificial intelligence coming at you real time. So, back to our story, as they say. We're going to do some exercises, but before the memory modification exercises, I would like you to recall from any time in your past, any particular situation, and it doesn't have to be horrific. It doesn't have to be, face in the mud, embarrassing, or as they say, what happens in where? Las Vegas, stays in Las Vegas. It could also be just an experience that was unpleasant, maybe at work, perhaps with a relationship, maybe with going out with family, with friends on a cruise. Met some people the other day, in fact, and this is why I thought of this exercise being very timely, even as we move away from New Year's resolutions, which of course many of us have already forgotten, and we're not even finishing the first quarter of the year. It begins to allow us to understand that we do have the ability to manage. I always emphasize that phrase, to manage our states. We have to give you examples. We have to give you tactical processes that you can move away with after, as I always say, give you the steak, after a session, right? So I would like you to think of, and I'm thinking of a few myself, one particular one, I'll share a few with you. I was playing rugby, Pride Park College. You can Google it. It's still in existence. I think it's 200 years old now, the institution, and it has morphed. Got rid of the brothers, and now it's all lay teachers, brought in young girls. Oh my goodness, can I go back in time? But they wouldn't be there, would they? Oh my goodness. And of course, they have a more inclusion of an international group. Although I must admit, the young men I went to school with at Pride Park College were from literally all over the world. And I think that's why I have a broad preference to people that come from diverse backgrounds, that have a different opinion, come from different perspectives. And perhaps why I do enjoy the company of Southern U.S. citizens who speak more purposefully, who are certainly more intense, I think more intense than the Northerners who come at you aggressively, certainly. At the same time, it's like fencing. You can parry them and, you take them out with your épée or saber if you prefer. So I like to throw those things out at you because, let's face it, guys, when you're having a good conversation, your brain is being challenged. Your mind is being challenged. And if you're of the ilk that wishes to expand your cranium, right? The brain is elastic. It can accommodate almost anything, good and bad, unfortunately. That's a place that you'll always find growth and opportunity. You won't get stayed. You won't get stuck in the mud of brain fixation. I'm not sure if that even means anything, but it sounded pretty cool. Anyway, back to the story. So I'm playing rugby. We're not doing too well. We're actually losing. And I'm in the second row of the scrum. That means I support when they push, get down and push against the opposition. And I was then threatened by some of the team members that if I didn't play well, they were going to take my hands and put them in on the heating unit in the pavilion. Well, if you know any heating unit, it's like, you stick your hand on coal or on fire. Well, that motivated me. It sure did. And I moved the ball in such a way that we were able to make a touchdown. We didn't win the game. I saved my hands. So that's a story that you could say for yourselves. You'd like to modify it. You'd like to change it. At least what was the other option or other options of it coming to fruition or an ending. You may have many. I'm sure you do. So let's try the exercise. Let's see how this might work. It will take some time for those of you who want instant gratification, like the popping a pill and getting a fix. Sometimes it takes a while for you to get into the zone, right? When we talk about the Bhagavad Gita, for example, to understand the pain that you've gone through, you must revisit it. And that is sometimes a very traumatic experience. So if you will allow yourself and allow me to share this with you, and there are other experiences which I'm not going to explain to you or tell you that I will use in terms of how to move through the experience. So let's see how this works. First off, can you recall an unpleasant experience in your life? Once you've recalled it, once you've brought it back into memory, I want you to mentally go there. Smell it, feel it, taste it, touch it. I want you to be as if you are there. The Bhagavad Gita says, die and be there, as if tonight you are in that painful space. Now, when you're in that painful space, I want you to recognize everything you can, the texture of chairs, tables, walls, the smell, the air itself. Can you breathe the air now, today, that you experienced back then? Can you hear the noise, the sounds? Can you feel, right? Some of us have to go there. Can you feel what is going on that's being done to you? Now, can you give it a coloration, right? Is it dark? Is it the yellowing of paper, for example, as over time? Was it a bright day, and yet this unpleasantness is going on? Was it an area where there was little light, although the outside it was bright? If it was the reverse, was it midnight and the moon was in full view? Right? Was it cloudy? Was it wet? Was there rain? Right? Were there sounds? What sounds were there? What sounds could you feel against your skin? You know how we can, when we use the expression, our hairs on the back of our neck rise. What did you feel? What did you sense? Now, I want you to jump out of that. Come out of that quickly. Come back in today. Okay, now, that was unpleasant. You may have an emotional memory reverberation coming back to you. Now I want you to go back. This time, when you go back, change one element that you believe is most important. Now, in most cases, when we do this exercise, we tell you what to change. I think the anchoring of how to change is you making that decision. Think about it. When you're at work and you don't deliver the right report, you don't produce the right information, someone's telling you what to do. Well, in the ability to learn and adapt and better manage ourselves, what if we were given the opportunity to make that decision to adjust, to add a different ingredient, to blend the environment differently than what we experienced before? Wouldn't that give you a little bit more management control? I try not to use the word control. Wouldn't you be able to better manage your state and the state that you're in so that you begin to move away from the negative? And it is negative. These exercises, when we talk about memory modification, it is more of a negative experience. Now, you've changed one element. How does it make you feel? And you just snap back out of that and come back into today, right? Now, do you feel, out of those two exercises, same process, you changed one element that your mind, you were the controlling factor, you had the joystick, right? How does that make you feel? You write it down. If you're serious about this, you would write it down. And I wrote mine down. I'm going to give you some background information, but I got one more step to share with you. One more step on this memory modification exercise, where what we're attempting, we don't try. We do or we don't do. We are looking at an experience that perhaps was not as fulfilling, not as pleasant, not as we would prefer. And I use these words on purpose because words are the armament against hostility, against ugliness, against our own voices in our heads that drive us in directions that we don't really want to go, yet we don't understand how they became part of our character. So the third step to this is I want you to jump back in time. This time, you're going to place yourself in the most advantageous place that's for you. Is it fishing? Is it playing cards with friends? Is it on a beach? Is it under a car fixing 360 Hemi, right? 12-cylinder, right? I love engineering, but I'm terrible at it. Right? Is it peering into space, staring into space, right? Looking at the constellations? Is it sitting with your favorite four-legged friend, playing with them, as I was the other day in the snow? Yeah, it was only here for 12 hours, if that. That's all you have, 12 hours, gone, boom. That's how life is in nature. It is, and then it's not. Sorry, I digressed a little bit there. Point made. So I want you to go back to that experience. This time, craft the environment to a pleasant environment. Now, can you still feel and experience the ugliness, the pain, the suffering, the unwanting of that experience? Now, look and feel about the sound, the air. Can you smell it? Can you taste it? Can you feel the vibrations? You know, they talk about ones and zeros on computers, and we say that we're carbon-based animals and we're electricity flowing through us. I think we've moved away so far from even appreciating that, we've forgotten what it can do for us when we come into not such pleasant environments. We use our senses. We talked the other day about conscious, subconscious, and superconscious capabilities. We've moved away and we've allowed external extremities, which are artificial, to stimulate us for so long. our own senses have been dulled. So you've gone to, I'm going to jump back a second. You've gone into the unpleasant place, everything about it, sense, sound, taste, vibration. The whole place was negative. The whole environment was negative. You jumped forward. You came out of it. That means you survived, by the way. That's a very important factor. You went back a second time, and this time you adjusted one element that you felt was significant, that would at least begin to give you a sense of possibility, right? You've heard the term hope. That's where it lies, guys and gals. And then thirdly, I want you to put yourself back in the situation, but this time, everything about the environment, not what is happening, the environment is positive. Now, what does that do for you? First time, I'll tell you right now, it may not do anything for you. Guess what? You're in the learning zone. You're in the unfamiliar zone of life. And that's where most of us push back and do not go any further. That's the sad part about a lot of the work that I do. At my age, I should be dumbing myself down because that's how most people behave. Because life, because family, because of social expectations, because of the timeline, this linear timeline we've been presented with, says to us, almost dictates to us, that's what you should do. I beg to differ. The brain doesn't know how old it is. Stop telling your mind that you are old. So when you begin to move out of that and you recognize that your conversation is what you want, you now anchoring yourself to the preferential environment, the self-talk that you desire. No one said it's easy. What I am saying is that it is a realistic process that the average person can understand, feel, manage, and move forward out with to make those changes. And to anchor that, let me give you some background. So memory modification is about the original state that we had experienced, negative, positive, something unpleasant, something that we would have rather have not engaged in, a word that you've said to somebody, an expression, a physical reaction. Usually it's a reaction. We go into on purpose adjusted. That was the first. I'm adjusting one element in that experience. All I have to do is just one element, just give my mind a glimmer. What is it? The light at the end of the tunnel, the silver lining, right? These fables that we throw away as we get older instead of building, as I love my phrase, crocodile skin, buffalo hide. That's what we have to build. And every now and again, we'll be the butterfly and we'll let the wind blow us. At the same time, and as many of you know, the yellow monarch comes from Canada and flies, I think it's 2,000 miles down to Florida, seemingly at the whim of the wind. Yet every year, those monarchs make that trip. So if we're not aware of that, if we're not sensitive to its power, we'll always think we've got to be in some Humvee driving down the road, running people over. Sorry. A guy today was just trying to run me over and I said, really? The third element, when we go from original to adjusted to prefer, that's where change, that's where adaptation, that's where we start to see a glimmer of hope. We go from confusion, pain, suffering, but we pull ourselves back because we've added an ingredient to that visual memory expectation that says, that's not what I want. That's not where I want to go. Now, there are many other elements to this, such as how long does it take to get to where you want to be? I don't know. Depends on your fortitude, depends on your stick-to-itiveness, depends on your attitude, depends on whether you really want it badly enough and you dig deep into yourself in a place that you've never been. And then optimal. Optimal is a state where you can manage your experiences, people you're involved with. When I say engaged, on a daily basis, the way that they engage with you, you set up a preference. Sometimes people say, well, oh, they're hoity-toity. No, they're protecting their personal environment. They will not allow people to defecate on their doorstep. So the story, the environment, elements to the story and environment begin to change, right? You've got your story. Is it true? Is it the only way that it can be? Is that what you have been harnessed to, latched to? You begin to adjust. You adjust on purpose with intent. Guys, this is the work. This is life. This is the persistency that you see people from all over the world in desperate situations. Situations that you think don't no longer exist. Whether it's Morgan Freeman talking about This Is Our World and introducing us to a North Korean gentleman whose parents were born into indentured servitude. I'm talking about current day experience. No, it's not an African American thing. But I know a lot of African Americans are, well, we come in through slavery. Really? Do some history. This is something that mankind does to one another on a constant basis. I don't care where you're from. And I'm not going to go there, which I already have. So we adjust on purpose with intent. We direct our thoughts based on what we believe we want. And if we find that we still get stuck in the mud, at least we've moved a millimeter, a centimeter, an inch away from where we were. You've heard the expression, 1 degree of separation. Look at a compass. And you'll see what I mean. Look at a compass. 1 degree of separation. The further away you come from the nucleus, you will find that it makes a world of difference. And that allows you to better manage and focus your future, which is where you're going. You see, so many of us get caught up with, well, this is where I'm from. You know, I was going to use an expression, but I won't. Yes, I will, dadgummit. I'm from the hood. I'm not from the bloody hood. My parents gave birth to me. I happen to be at 33 Foxbourne Road in southwest London, Tooting Bec. And now I'm at, where am I? Pemberton, New Jersey, 10,000 miles away. So where are you going to be next week, next month, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? And all of those experiences, memory modification, can be yours. It takes fortitude. It takes a desire. It takes getting up on your ship and steering it with your rudder. It means testing out and validating what you've been given as a child into adulthood, into senior years, so that you can give a better legacy to those that are less fortunate than you. Try it. It's a damn sight better experience than wailing, as Bob Marley would say, about how life has treated us. It gets us away from that minutia, that belittling, that oh, woe is me. Memory modification. I've even modified the process because it will take a little while. Most people may not appreciate or understand it the first time out. So here's my question. The first time you tried almost anything, were you perfect? Were you top notch? Tip top? No, you weren't. But you persevered. Why? Because that's something you wanted. So you anchored yourself to a desired outcome. You can do the same thing here. You can take the pain and have it move you in the direction that you choose. And you don't need anyone to affirm or confirm that it's right for you. You do it for yourself. You'll be a better person for it. You'll like yourself. You'll get up in the morning and say, yes, I can. Not because it's some mantra that someone tells you to do. Rather, it's an anchoring in you. It's already there. Someone just has to light that little spark. You should be the one lighting the spark. Why? Because if someone else does, they can douse it out. This expression in America called empowerment. Really? If I empower you, can I not take it away? Hello? In fact, just the other day I learned unalienable, I think I'm saying it correctly, inalienable, excuse me, in the Independence, was referring only to a certain class of people. I'm going to let you do the homework. I'm not going to give you answers here. I've always said that. Don't give you answers. I give you ideas and processes and solutions. You have to work it out, because that's the way we free ourselves. That's the way we become relevant in our own world, our own space. And the things that we do then are anchored to us. We own them, right? Accountability, responsibility. That doesn't always have to be a whip at the back of the hand or a ruler. I know I went there, sorry. More importantly, though, it should be that you are willing to go the distance and adjust. You are taking those steps and willing to learn. Because after all, that's what we are. We're a living organism. We adapt and adjust to almost any environment. So, memory modification. Take your time. Try it a few times. There's 3 main steps. 1, the space and pain that you had initially endured, because now you are here, even with the pain. Secondly, change 1 element. You're still in the pain, you've changed 1 element. That sparks a, I can, it can, something can change. And then thirdly, you design the environment despite the pain. That last one, by the way, was what Nelson Mandela and many other leaders, oh my goodness, Solzhenitsyn from Russia, Sir Walter Raleigh from Europe, England, and many others. That's what they did. They were still in the pain. They were still in the frying pan. They just encapsulated their minds with where they wanted to be. That's a powerful force. That's an incredibly powerful mental state that many of us in the West do not appreciate. Try it. Develop your mind, no matter what, even if it's a little acorn. You will be the oak tree soon. But make sure you have a bit of a willow tree as well, because the wind will test you. This is Ronald Allen, managing change through effective communications. You know where to find me.